Jabata Chomba Yandaba Sope Sange Ripatan Shazutam Dawa Japa Jitin Jamba Kibutu Kalo Yuba Lana Sada Menange Tamba Sange Chomden Pajawa Shaja Tubala Chaselo Choto Jas Chewa Tamba Chomden Tejin Jabata Chomba Yandaba Sobe Ribada Jazu Damba Dewa Sheba Jitin Kibudu Kalo Yuba Lana Mepa Lada Minangi Chomden de Pagawa Shaka Tupala Chaselo Chudo Jab Chia Wa Tamba Chomden de Tejin Sheba Chomba Yanda Pasope Sange Ribada Jazu Dewa Sheba Jitin Gamba Kibudu Kalo Yuba Lana Pada Menange Damba Sange Chomden de Pagawa Shaka Chazelo Judo Yat Chia Kanje Kanye So Kyutam Se Sajen de la Combat Tumbo Mani Jiden Dina Choshi Sun Teje Keba Chazelo Nanda Kunga Chotu Susan Ishi Katso Segi Lumbo Taba Jiden Sumna Lame Wa Kombo Choni Kyola Chaz Senjo Dimba Dime Tawesha Seto Trawa Kyola Chaz Jude Kyuta Sipa Sumachi Name Genjin Kyola Chaz Kombo Tuji Chita Anje Gimbe Tumba Nayan Dinga Zojin Tijin Shala Chaz Tabe Toja Tawa Kyo Kewe Ngezon Ledu Chidu Danda Jogyo Pa Shigyo Jola Chaz Dane Dewe Layan Den Lapa Tala Raptun Shingi Damba Yunden Den Gindun Layan Chaz Zelo Tiba Mija Shin Gawa Puzun Zobat Hange Semni Yonsu Tu Dine Sange Temba Kamara Rima Medan Yoma Seba Chubu Yela Lodan Dinda Bu Tuje Jana Tita Sananti Tamche Seba Ye Kumando Dada Nadan Chiwe Laptrube Sibezo Ledro I prostrate to the three noble rare sublime ones. Thus did I hear one time the Bhaga, one was dwelling on massive vulture's mountain in Rajagri, together with a great community of monks and a great community. Bodhisattvas at that time the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena to profound perception. Also at that time the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara was on the very practice of the profound perfection and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection? He said that the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this correctly and repeatedly with five aggregates also as empty of inherently. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form is also not other than empty. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition of factors and consciousness are Shariputra, likewise all phenomena are empty, without characteristic, unproduced, unsustained, not without stain, not deficient, not full. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness. There is no form, no feeling, no discrimination. Factors, no conscious, no I, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and so phenomenon. There is no I element, and so on up to and including no mind element, and no mental consciousness. There is no extinction of ignorance, and so on up to and including no aging and death, and extinction of aging. And similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and there is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attained. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely. Dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Completely pass beyond error, they reach the end point of no. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly completely awakened to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies or suffers, should be known as truth since it is. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared Tayata Om Kate Kate Para Sangate Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should in the profound wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhis Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshwaras. Was the son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of just as you have indicated, even the Tathagatas, the Bhagavan having thus spoken, the venerable Sharitadip, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, and the surrounding in their entire, along with the world of course humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, overjoyed and highly praised as spoken by the Bhagavan. Kanye Tenshin Dawa Jun Kapa Mepa Kemepa Chepa Mepa Tamepa Wawa Mepa Tromepa Tade Demin Denjimin Japa Nishi Shitem Sobe Zanye Manangi Tamba Del Chazero Nyente Jiwa Sanam Kunshi Niki Neshi Tije Kayin Dola Pemba Jenam Lamji Nigi Chiten Dendru Zebakam Kanda Yanda Dembe Tuna Namba Kunde Natso Disumba Yende Janju Sembe Soje Sange Kini Yumdala Chaselo
Sanje Chedan Soje Chona La
Janjo Batu Dani Gyazuji Dagi Jinso Gibe
Sonam Gin
Dola Pinji Sange Drupara Sho
Sanje Chedan
Soge Jonam La Janjo Batu Dani Gyazuji Dagi Jinso Gibe
Sonam Gin
Dola Pinji Sange Drupara Sho
Sanje Chedan
Soge Janam La Janjo Batu
Dani Gyapsu Che
Dagi
Dagi
Jinso
Jinso
Gibe
Sonan Gin Dola Penjir Drupara Sho Gangi Tuze Nyesune Dawa Damje Bambe Chiri Dambe Chune Dunzebe Kodam Dela Chatse Lu Yeah. Should get a G and then Diksha was some of those.
No.
Chiji Keva Kaji Karilavi Oresana. And Keva Pendite and Chabati and Jabachene, and Javak Dot and Baby Oris. As Katum to the Narchi Yore, Keva Pendite Lugi, Rondo Chiruche, Tado Chiruches, Kusulu Lugi, Rondo Nanduche, Tado Nanduches. The Shungu Lobjong, that Shung Chambolia, Tado Ching to Chugi, any cheat Kojachebe Chido, and Rondo Chiruje, Tado Chiruches. And in Yamlemba China, and Rondo the Nanduche, Tado Nanduches. What Tinde res, Tinde in us, the Ribet and Baby Gone, and Jebachen, Ribet and Baby Gone, and Tawa Kazetova in and Zozo Gombe Yamleti and Rumares. Gombe Yamleti, Ribeta and Bemugove Tone, and Kandar, Ribet Kazeta and Baby in to look on Namdores, or the Namdo in the Kawars, or Namdo in the Mido Ishi Banjares, or that Nyamlemba Chicken, so Nyamshagi and Musum Gone, Tawa Tan Baby, Musum Gone. Musum Yorta, Musum Gone, Tawa Tan Baby, Gone, or two Chigina, Tawa the Toya, the Nuba Chapa, and Tawa the Tonya Mata. And bed the Ribet gonna thought to said, Patch Haram Sinta the Mado, Mevado, or Tinde Chijikava, Pug Chijikava Kaji, Yatindegi, Shisuji Yoimer.
No. I wanted to say something just by the way. It's in relation to this reference to certain later masters or certain later what do you call it? Anyway, yeah. Certainly masters, certainly later teachers. So what they so what they say is that so these are people who have really sort of like studied the great treatises, and they say that no matter how much you might be able to establish, prove the view through reasoning, all that's just conceptual mind. So when it comes to meditating, then what you need to do is leave all that to one side and just meditate without conceptualizing. Nando meva chi kasate gong
Jagores, Namdo Ganga, and Mido Ishigi, Banjares.
Because all conceptual minds are to be rejected or abandoned for the sake of the non-conceptual realization.
Tati Tandandi Kundagunjo Tembe Drume, Dobatundemen, Devenali, Tichi Kabati, look to Gurney, and tell governor to us. Until a candice church in the governor dosana, and Tinde in us, and Jabachemawa, Taribe Jabango Masonga, and bed the Midoi Shigi, any Yamne Cheje, or Tus Cheje, any yet Tombani Toba want to dance, Tombani Toba want to dance, then the teaching Kansaji Chashana, and the Papa Res. Garisana, Tombani Tambuto, Musunguto, Muduas. And the Papa Chayagi, Kake Marakon Lamsan Papa Chayagi, Yanga Duas, the Gen Tambure.
Did Moto
Jabagun Mudumadan, and Yamling Tone, and that Musum to Toya Tone, Jabag Toya Yomata, Musum ten, but Yamle Chene, and Tinde Chindi, Tawadonia the Ma Yore, Jabal then Tawato said, halam sinda zamres lapsarwa
No.
kevakachiti
No.
tindelavina ta tendawati and tibachimber changing the one to dana the tower tamboto yundu and power at Sarves and musum the toyung was.
No. So these so since these masters consider that it's practically impossible to realize the view in the beginning by using reasoning, and that you have to realize it, directly without all of the reasoning. So when the so I mentioned his commentary to the Dependent Arising praise by Lama Tsongkhapa the other day. So what he says in that commentary, the what was it called? The anyway, interwoven commentary. So in that he refutes such a theory, such an idea. So what he says is that if the person, when they first realize emptiness, it's not going to be depending upon reasoning, so it's not going to be an inferential realization. So it must be so it has to be a direct realization of emptiness. Does that mean that right at the very beginning, that person, when they first realize emptiness, then does that mean they're immediately they're an Arya being? No.
Tadi peje jolam rebes, jolam baribes. Karis tunil mebel handu satu toguduas. Tunil mebel handu satu tako jolam chadoduas.
And then the second point he makes is, oh well, but actually maybe this person immediately becomes a like what you call it? They must have achieved the path of preparation, because they have now newly gained this insight into emptiness combined with calm abiding.
Cholam leja, cholam bachil tokba leja ma chirebes. Tunil tosam get dondoja we couldn't want to song in the ones.
No.
Tombanil tosam get dondoja want to couldn't song your marvas. The inza cholam bachil ma reves. Cholam
Pala.
Cholam le ma.
Mawa.
Ma chirebes.
That's now.
I get them power chowra. Nema jolam malero. Ta jolam bachet nema. Cholam le ma. Let them watch my chores.
And then he actually, so now having started off, with being an Arya and then talking about Papa Rebes, Dambo Disumpura.
Takaresna.
Oh, Retseza.
Nyamshagi, Musum Yukona, Tower Tan Bemne, Togu Yoris. Nyamshagi,
no, not in
Musum Yukone, Tower Tan Bemne. Tuce Tonya, Tower Tonya, Ma Yoris, Love Sarva.
No,
that tender without Nyamsha gone, Musum Tower Tan Bemne, Tonya, the Papa Rebes. Taco Sar, Tony Sar to Togu Yuza, Tony maybe that Hando Sar to Togu Gire, the Jolamba Rebes. Taco Cholam Jilla Marves. There is not Tony to some Chevituni, Chair Marvas.
So, just to go through that again. So, since they're saying that what you would do is you would immediately achieve a direct perception of emptiness, so then this Konjatembidrome is saying, so does that mean that this person immediately becomes an Arya? And then he goes on to say with the second point, oh, but since this person is newly realizing, has newly gained special insight, realizing emptiness, it must be that they're on the path of preparation. Then his third point is, but then does that mean that actually that this person is who's evidently on the path of preparation is actually inferior to a person on the path of accumulation, because the person on the path of accumulation has at least used reasoning to eliminate any kind of exaggerations or superimpositions about emptiness, but this person hasn't even done that. So does that mean they're on the path of preparation but inferior to someone on the path of accumulation? No.
Oh, that Tösam gugon nana be gugu yobati kasanki lungmangbo changsare tanda riba tukjube gombulu dugu riba tukjube neje samdan dambala nyomong tukchen jimin jungs sungduwas sem dinzingi mibata jeje kandar karsore migde ji yodebe yima inas tela mibe ane chaso nyomong keaji 용거를 왔어. 디 된다와디 매버 서절 아니 리벤 남라 타이베 거네. 댄베기 연나를 리벤 나 쳐보고 댄베기 연나 뭐 도스체네 대가고 그러 왔어. 내제 삼단데 말라 녀무 도체 지민주스. 스베 사변 남시 룽데 카가레. 스베 사변 남시 유넘 티주 유라 다음에 통하네 스베 사변 가봐 줄스. 근데 순구도 왔어. 고물로 이렇게.
So more precisely, on the person on the path of accumulation has eliminated all the superimpositions about emptiness through the process of listening and reflection, and the fact that that is something that's definitely necessary is something we can understand from the Nagarjuna's 60 stanzas of reasoning. Which I mentioned the other evening. So there he says that as long as one still has the apprehended object of the grasping of true existence, then attachment and so on will continue to arise. Therefore, one definitely needs to apply numberless reasons or a variety of reasons in order to refute the existence of that apprehended object of true grasping.
Di dos nenga duas. O ta tawa chongbolas. An ji chue tamje ji daame be ten tongba ni gi ten tawa chongla ani shung chimbe tosam singende chi khoja chue ba zam gi che du re. Ngone gi nyamle che bala menga tungtung ji gi ani ne dibe ina an digi chama and YouTube Yungres, Shenkenji Yorla, some Kenji and Yore, or that Titan and Maimba. When Bengo Pabaludugi, so I share a Tambo Utsudu in the Korane, and Dalemai, Shelemi, Yelemani, Gimemis, and Tambo Korane, Tashijongo, Ribegon, Dan Beg to us. And then that Kolopabe, Yum Sheraki Parachimbo, Sumbo Korekadulaya, Sheraki Parachimbas, Masumbo Madoji. 대배 파로도 침버스 어딘데 숭음이 왔어 대배 장바다 이체 주고 지고 돈에 안 다르친 투를 숭음이 왔어 셰럽 그쪽에 있는 파로도 침버 고르스 아니 준주 나를 있나야 예란데다 탐진 특별 셰럽 돈도 숭스네 되게 갱기 지소 탑 냠랭 좀 되겠대 조조데 셰럽 게 털려야 아니 셰럽 조던 제버지 고르스 도스는 숭도 왔어 데인데 지 다스 남주지 예배 있는 치장기 아니 흉자치 뭐네 셰바 뒤쳐지기 아니 다여 글루테야 띵사바여 돼야 지 디용하를 두었어.
So this really is a very important point. This, that you do need to clear out all kinds of exaggerations, superimpositions through the process of listening and reflecting first, if you're going to practice the view, because otherwise there are people who say that learning all of these, studying all of these great treatises is really just for the sake of some sort of like, I think how we usually put it it's translated something like, for sort of like intellectual understanding, or just for sort of external thing. It's kind of external thing. For real meditation, what you need is a small text containing pith instructions. So there are people that say that, and there are some people that think that. You don't need all to get involved in all those great treatises. Just one small text of pith instructions is enough. And so this is clearly a mistake. And really, if you think about it, just look at the way that that Nagarjuna opens his, Mula Madhyamaka Karika, where he says, not from self, not from other, and so forth. It's like right at the very beginning, he goes into the reasoning that establishes selflessness. And think about, the perfection of wisdom sutras. They're not called the perfection of faith sutras. They're called the perfection of wisdom sutras, because anyway, that kind of might miss the point. The thing is that in the if you literally translate, Sheriki Paruchimpa, it's like gone beyond. So in other words, from the title of the sutras, you can understand that it's through wisdom that you go beyond, that you transcend, not just through faith. So you need that. And then also think about what Shantideva says in the Bodhisattva at the beginning of the wisdom chapter, the 9th chapter. He says, all these branches were for the sake of wisdom. So in other words, everything that he had explained before was for the sake of wisdom and needed to be accompanied by wisdom, generosity, and so forth. The other perfections alone can't, bring you to enlightenment. They have to be accompanied by wisdom. And it really does seem that the more you're able to learn the great treatises, the more profound your understanding will be. No. No. So we'll go back to the text.
Saltong mingalwe sungyan choki lopshe gyunzinam tochong mugu kane tadnaya sange tebe rinzin shibunam sangshen mugu june gomna yang henge charwe Dongden Gambonam Utu Mugu Yeme Dredder de Kalan Choge Dogen Goting Nam Sabzu Majes that Tindijire. That Aling Dijisushage.
No. So we're going to be looking at verses 18 and 19, which go together. With no conflict, clarity and emptiness can be upheld. So holders of the pupil instruction lineage, be not apprehensive. Though pure primordially, good and bad are feasible. So you Vidyadhara yogis need not grasp at purity. Since the innate nature can dawn through even contrived meditation, you elderly meditators need not be persistent. Since one can uphold the absence of elaboration of existence and non-existence, you stubborn logicians need not fret.
Jermuchege and Lando Chemenala Dreidel Toxos and Yirang Chigioris or the Payabores, Dreidel Toxos, then it's Tichimachin in the Guyomarda. Juba mega jalos lavina. Oh, that bed Chetal Humsung, so Gioris. T and mega geturned and Gaja Gabe mega maimba and Dungshi Chechen Gaba, Gia Mebe, and Delia, and mega net machine, Gabani net machine res.
Did Maingares, Megamares.
The turtle sing the Chuni said,
no.
Turtle saying, what did Juba mega, the turtle need to be Yarva? Manzu searching about then, Juba mega send turtles and Tondachil Kurva. Yina, gee, that shit. Pungaraba Sinam, the Chigi Kajisnam, to Zugi, Turtle saying the Chuni, or Tanga Turtle Toxos, or the Conchuni Javares, Tombani Cameras. That Juba mega also Lavina, oh, that the Pejichetal Hunsa Mandos. That Garasana, but don't you church and made the Yangi, that Kake made Nijigalia, that Rosasha some, and kind of real much which Chigioris. Tedavati, Kawagi, Norresna, Mega net machimbares. Mega Shevati, Gaja Kabaramato, choosing Kaba Martas. Oh, that thing 메가게 내디 약보지 신바이나 가자 랑원의 주바 까바 있느냐 동시 최전 디잡로들 하되 그래 대인도 네가 용도로 보다 숭도 주바 냠도 차거도 와
네.
저바 메가들 숭도 주바 냠도 용도도 와 다티 단데 안에 세동 제메당 가다 다 오래 다 도서 강가래 뭐 가다 라신 룬루 가다 룬루 안에 마하무드라 자자 첨부 도저기 가르 카지고 공부 가르치기 있으나 저절 제기스 또 유춘이 잡으레스 저바 메가 잡아 마레스 근데 저바 메가 제베이나 아니 동시 최전 그런 매버찬 지야 매버 차주도 선배 아니 투글 미대와지 예베찬 저바 메가 두 남도야 마셰버찬 까브르 오래
메가 이상 거데 시저징 동시 저징 그런 메스
매버 차주도 선배로 또 용거 아니 송주 차금인도 상가 그래 딱 도저 관계 출시 되래 저저데 주제 가서 저절 잘로 쓰나 아니 로데와체 저바 메가 잘로 쓰나 아니 어디 내가 테레스 아니 좀 직송나
in his great exposition of special insight, Rinpoche remarks that there are certain people who, when they hear the idea of realizing freedom from elaborations, they're very happy with that. They like that, so freedom from elaborations, meaning like ultimate reality. They're pleased with that. They're happy with that. But then when somebody talks about realizing the non-affirming negation free of elaborations, then they don't like that, because then they think that you're saying that nothing exists at all, and therefore that you're not talking about a union of ultimate, what you call it anyway, emptiness and appearances. It rules out that kind of possibility, and so this is actually comes down to the fact that they don't really understand what a non-affirming negation is. So what they think is that if you say that emptiness is freedom from elaborations is a non-affirming negation, what they think it means is you're negating the object of that's supposed to be negated, and because you're not affirming the thing which is empty in its place at the same time, then that means that you're just negating everything. They think that that's what it should be if it's a non-affirming negation. You're just negating the object to be negated, and the thing which is empty isn't left behind. So what they don't understand is that the reality is a non-affirming negation, which is a mere negation of true existence and so on, and at the same time without affirming anything in its place, or at the same time as you're negating, and yet at the same time the thing which is empty, which has that that quality of being empty of true existence, that still exists. So it really comes down to not understanding how non-affirming negations work.
자시 직전에 저저 독수체나 신도 랑신 갈라 저바 매바 각바 잘로체나 미스바니스 다롤 데보 매바 차야든 가자 넘버 제점식 메가기 퇴임바 마도바 가자 넘버 제점 메가기 퇴임바 마도바 메가 탐제 일본그 라단데베 장매든 데베 로견인데스 다 로견디 오티레스 다 계속 되기 시작하더래. And
so actually it's in then also in the his commentary to the Nagarjuna's fundamental wisdom verses. So he, Rinpoche makes the point that they like the idea that there are certain people who like the idea of freedom from elaborations, but when you describe it as a non-affirming negation, then they're not happy with that, because as far as they're concerned, when you talk about something being a non-affirming negation, it's just like it implies simply non-existence at all, complete non-existence, just like the horn of a rabbit. So not understanding again, what a non-affirming negation is.
그 내가 마토비 견르was 뭐네 자네잖아 고물루고 자와시라고 우당부 추용도네 이게 최주 거라네 등상감도 딱바르지 내야 돼 관계 때인진 라와주 가바 매바 깨 매바 제바 매바 따 매바 공화 매바 로 매바 타데 되미 된지미스 또 강가 매가르 봤어 매매 매슬러로 ngol tebe kenga gyula tebe tache yula tebe rong dala tebe jigdan thade khane tsebe inaya takdon zan inye ba jungsa ya mendu sim dos chene disumbar bas o tindegi gaja ka ba rangon tuba ka be tela tode sigres toba nyershis ba toba nyeshi shitamba zobasing tode singen da en gaja ka be megatini toba megal shebatin tunji 오늘 전에 이게 강대 이제 걸어놔라 vet 세월도 왔어
지난번에 다 메가 집 말아
말에 코란서 고조지기잖아 뚜들 세인도 충이 다
동이 메가 라운드 봐 동이 또 별로데 메가 별로도 선bat은 강가가도 선서진 거
근데 인상 가시지긴 장본은 정거 전부 제다 버렸어 어떤 데스네 시과 내가 대토로 보다
no. So so this is all due to not understanding what a non-affirming negation is, and in fact it's because Rinpoche Lama Tsongkhapa says that ultimate reality, freedom from elaborations, is a non-affirming negation, that many people think that he's nihilist. So actually, even looking at these two verses that we recite at the beginning of the teachings, which comes right from the beginning of Nagarjuna's fundamental wisdom verses. So like it says, the Mula Madhyama Karika, so these are the opening verses, the expression of worship. So it says, he who taught dependent origination, no cessation, no origination, no annihilation, and no permanence, no coming, no going, not different, not the same. So those are all actually non-affirming negations. So right at the very beginning, Nagarjuna is saying that, and when he says, this through karmic conceptual elaborations, and a freedom of the pacification of elaborations, actually is literally, I think the conceptual has been added in there. But anyway, so free of elaborations. So he's actually, Nagarjuna is describing those non-affirming negations as elaborations, and which need to be, negated. Because they're all free. That they're all non-affirming negations which are free from elaborations. That's what I meant to say.
나란즈 차전된데 셰르님분 나라야 풍봉하고 대다짱 라신게 동반나바 양다바 제수 따오스 다 단단하게 미메 나메 제메 세대기 메메 세대 가르메 버렸으나 아니 라신게 동바 랑원이 주바 메바 어디가는 야자네 가르용고 다테레 간다 올이야 디타니 맞아 간데네 타니 자샤여자 들이야 있는 고고 그랬어 오래 다 간다 들에 나 신달 맞아왔디 엔 자베 슝트네 있는
가나디
로 마키 거다 이나데 타니 지야래 어두스chen 풍봉하고 대다 짱 신기 동받는 바 양다고 제수 taos sung chabe jela ta diol me se gangalo and ranshing tongba imba kogo res rakden tewe kyang ti 개좀 쉬우지 그랬으니 경고 야이신노 같은데 숨고요 봐. 다 랑신 주베 똥바점도 마세. 다시 풍소 짱 에네 랑원의 주베 똥바레스. 디 짱다티 강사 다음에 받아 취기 다음에 니가 인티날 두투고요 봐. 짱다티 매베이나 아니 취기 다음에 드마도 강사 다음에 두고 매봐. 어때? 식 짱다 직 예베 티기 강사 랑원의 주베 다음에 봐. 똥에 다음에 봐 좀도 마세. 풍소 짱 에네 랑원 주베 똥에 다음에 봐레스.
Then in the Heart Sutra.
가자를 던던 개바 자와다 맞아. 가자를 던던 개바 자와다 맞아. 니와. 아니 가자를 던던 개바 맞아 두서 아니 자와 디네마 키고 그랬어.
갈리유.
이게 던던 개바 자르와. 풍봉하부터다 야란 신기 동반나 봐. 양다버 just 던던 개바 자르와. 다음에 미메 나메 제메스 두솔 던던 개바 무스디 자리와 말때다 자버를 갈 수는 이게 뭘이 무스 자르도 왔어. 얘는 던던 개바 맞아 자와 디네 켜고 그랬어.
Yeah, so then in the Heart Sutra, okay, so anyway, yeah, it would be good to get this. Doing something a bit further down, anyway, where it says the aggregates also are empty. So there is no form of likewise, or forms of limitation. Because the Zutong Bao Di Walara. Sharibu Ribu and Ribu Kana Sherry Barajima, some Jibba David, the number Tawa Jeti Pumung de Kyang. No. Yeah, so where it says is first, yeah, so Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly, beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. So there's 2 points to look at here. So one is that, so this is something, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is always making this point, isn't he, about the significance of saying also empty of inherent nature. So one thing is that below, when it says there's no so there, when it says what was it again? Also, I've lost it again. Also is empty of inherent nature. So there, the Buddha is teaching. Well, anyway, the sutra is saying that is describing a non-affirming negation. So when talking about selflessness of phenomena in relation to the five aggregates, it's talking about that emptiness in the form of, or in terms of a non-affirming negation. And then later on, further down, when it starts saying no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, and so on, even though it doesn't actually, you don't actually see the words by its own nature. So that isn't it. You don't actually see it there. You need to understand it as applying to this. Because it's already been mentioned above, because it said the five aggregates are also empty of inherent nature, not just non-existent, but just not existing inherently. You need to understand that actually refers to everything else that's described as non-existent. It means no inherent, no eye existing by its own nature, no ear existing by its own nature, and so forth. So that's one thing. So those are all non-affirming negations. Then when it says no eye, no ears, and so on, those are all non-affirming negations, which are mere negations of existence of those various objects from their own side. And then the particular significance of saying also, you see, if there wasn't also there, then it would only be referring to the selflessness of phenomena and not to the selflessness of the person. So in other words, it wouldn't be including the person there. It would be saying that the aggregates are empty, but you could risk thinking, well, the person isn't empty in that way. But because it says also, the aggregates also are empty of inherent nature, the also means as well as the person. So the person is empty of inherent of nature also, just like the 5 aggregates are empty of inherent nature.
No. Dayan 공당 거저 때문에 좀 직직 배주 당기 더바 튼데면 나라. 다외 랑신 사외 칠스. 동반이기 따와 고매한테 다외 엔 동반이기 따와 되기 가르치기 열었어. 따와 동반이기 따와 고매한테 가르치기 열었어. 아니 랑신 시 군조비 최전 강당 강한 있느냐 뒤 랑신 컨데지도 왔으면 제기 열었어. 다외 랑신 사외 칠스. 랑신티 다 유중원에 따네 제니 니야메바 인자 아니 마녀바이 캐귤라스 다 랑신 가봐도 제니 랑신 얘기 말와스 어다 랑신 마녀바티기 다 가자메가 사드 랑신 제네 랑신 마녀바테레스 다베 랑신 자베 즉 마녀바이 캐귤라스 텐데베 랑신 랑궁원에 여바도 마녀바티 마녀 닥시 고민베스 많이 봐도 닥신 거가 말았다스. 동시 최전 거가 말았다스. 제기 민장 하말루스. 냠샤텔이야 다인도 아니 규마터부기 베디 상해 나서다 다 콘데기 상해 나서 레준데라서 남샤 탐제 태투야기 동시 최전 하디 그러다스. 다외 랑신 자외질 많이 봐야 키줄라. 많이 닥신 거 민베 제기 민상 하말루 대인도 아니 딜이야 아니 차다를 롱도기 냥가 요마레 가르르스나 민sam티 하디그레스 공조 최전 민장 따여 점데 까그 말레스 대인도 니 따왔다는 베베 디값을 아니 담바니 찌찌리야 엔 토스 도르마도 아니 공조 차드 베티 마 간로 텐데 마르스.
And then Kuntang Kunjo Ting Timidrome. Kuntang anyway the Kuntang Rinpoche Kuntang Kunjo Timidrome. No, so in his no. This is also in a praise to Rinpoche Lama Tsong Kappa. So it's from his text called the Meaningful Praise. So in there he says, what is it that we're searching for when we're meditating on the view? And so his answer is, what we're searching for is the nature, like natural existence by its own nature. And when we search for it, we don't find it. And not finding it means it's negated. However, he goes on to say, when that's negated, the basis which is empty, the thing which is empty, doesn't also get negated. So that when you come out of the meditation, then still everything, everything in samsara, nirvana, which is all mere name, they still remain, and everything still functions. So there is, he's saying that there is no risk of, when you negate, when you simply negate, the existence by its own nature, that non-affirming negation, then there isn't a risk of being nihilistic, because mere name remains, and you'll be able to see that after the meditation when you're practicing, the illusion-like post-meditation practice.
Dambaniti 아니 찌기찌리야 내가 투모마이만 렌투여봐 디기 하던 탄규하게 투모마이미 개주 더네 제르무치기 남전나를 여대베 시야 나외 여타세와다 동배 메타세시 동반이 규단 주부차베 수시에나 탄진 따외 초고 민유르세 다 대두와스 단대 나란지 단den디 접주무거스 우주무거스 안간절 강가 여세디 계제때와 디르와스 다 지단체나 랑규바 멘체기 오 dembanyi geja sheyindu 아니 유나조스 난기 여자 아니 매베 타드 세고르 당원 지나 지단도 다잖아 매바 마르타 카야로 난기도 왔어 저제 난기도 왔어 매바 마르타 쓰네 두스르바 나야 되게 메타세그르 봐 이나야 탄규의 투모마인 바기 아니 메타세와 정도 마세 여다야 세그레스 여다 가르르스나 겐상에 나초디 아니 여베 나토야지 여베 인자 랑원은 주베 동베 따레스 랑원은 주베 마도나 아니 겐상에기 아니 남샤데 태그마르 대인자 군조비 최전 나조스 나한테 랑원은 주베 동베 따템버레스 디나 나외 요타세스 디타 랑규바 멘체리아 타티스주 매댕에지 탄규비 투모마인베 메타세와 정도 마세 투모마인베 요타직세 시야 나외 요타세오다 동베 메타스 다 랑원의 주베 동자 아니 겐상에 나서기 되게 태버지 중발에 디인자 아니 동바 인자 아니 유튜브지 차버렸어 코와 유튜브 차버래 냥대 유튜브 차버래 두스chen 유튜브 차데 랑원의 주베 동자 디인자 동베 요타스싱스 오늘 전 남주 랑주베 면제 동베 메타스로다 가서 동베 요타스로 랑주 면제 동베 요타스로 요말 랑원 가서 넘버로 동바로 봤으로 요말 세트로 이내 다른데 메타세트로스 오다 두스chen 타니 세야기 직접도 세트야기 누바티 랑원의 주베 동바텔라 요레스 땡주 주센도 제베 랑원의 주베 동바텔라 타니 직접도 세야기 누바지 요레스 대한 탄주베 투모마이베 제주지 요레스 때는 중의 주sen게 타르다와라 미텐세야 내가 들었으니 정저의 신우들의 숨고도
And so we see that the conventional reality is absolutely not negated, because actually the situation, the understanding is that appearances and appearing and empty, or appearances and emptiness, that these actually are mutually they support each other. There's another word, but anyway, that'll do. They support each other. So so the thing is that the way in which the two truths exist in a kind of like a union, like a single package, is unique to the Prasangikas. They have their own unique way of understanding how the two truths are mutually sort of like supporting and so on. So we can understand this from the three principal aspects of the path. So there's the verse which describes how you know that you've really completed your understanding of the view. So this is where it says that besides that, or furthermore, appearances dispel the extreme of existence, and emptiness dispels the extreme of non-existence. So now in the Svatantrika system, the fact that various objects appear, that for them that shows, therefore they don't exist. So that they're not totally non-existent. The fact that they can happen, they occur, they arise, means that they're not totally non-existent. So for them, the appearances, dependent arising is something which negates the extreme of the extreme of non-existence. Okay, so because it exists, comes into being dependently, therefore it is not totally non-existent. So that dispels the extreme of non-existence. And when you for them, when you say empty of true existence, so for them, that dispels the eternalist extreme, or the extreme of existence. So the fact that it's empty means that it's not truly existent. So that would be the extreme of existence, right? So it dispels the extreme of existence. So in the Prasangika system, as well as that, as well as the dependent arising dispelling the extreme of non-existence, and emptiness dispelling the extreme of existence, also dependent arising dispels the extreme of existence. And the way that works is that by through the understanding that things exist dependently, they come into being depending upon various causes and conditions and so forth, that means they can't exist from their own side. So therefore, it dispels the extreme of existence, the extreme, of being truly existent, in other words. So that's the meaning of the Xian Nawa Yutta. So the appearances refute the extreme of existence, or the eternalist extreme. And then the next line says, Domi Metta, so the emptiness dispels the extreme of non-existence, the nihilist extreme. Why? Because through understanding that the thing doesn't exist by its own nature, then you know that it comes into being through depending upon cause and conditions. It doesn't exist by its own nature; it exists, depending upon various causes and conditions. So it's not totally non-existent. So in that way, emptiness dispels the extreme of non-existence. Metta. So that's something which is unique to the Prasangika system. The Swatantrikas and below aren't able to see how a dependent arising dispels or negates both extremes, and emptiness negates both extremes. So so this is again, this is unique to the Prasangika system.
That tindeji indu ane satung sungju manya inare, kada sungju sungnya inare, ane chaja chambu sungnya kenan tsogi, ane ta rugendeme cho laya, ane gaja kabe kabagla, ane tong sangye chimato, ane shi choje meba, o tindegi dingi namshali nyamdroya, kunzo dembali nyamdroya, tindegi tokchung goa mares. 계속 도도 dire 살동 민가베 숭양 초기스 롭셰 균진구 남도메쿠스 사자리 캐나체 야 사동 숭주 세나시 만졸레야 가르스 디당 셈기 춘이다 셈 가그마레 디니가 요레스 아니 간네 타네야 상셔 테베스 뉴마 캐난소르 비기나 ngo 가다 숭고 동반일스 되네야 아니 동시 최전기 상태를 요레스 상태를 동시 최전 릭바 상태 최전이 맞아야 되고레스 디인도 진진시 시보 다지 상하기 닝매기 냠렘바 토부 넘버 2 아니 통로난고 마레스 토부난고 마레스 다 마주 행게스네 셈디 마주바 행게 아니 텔리아 승단데 인주도 착천 듣게 자로와 다 뭐는 저나 착천 승겐데 마하무달스 차는 동배 이시데스 아니 전부 코웨 귤 가리는지 차야 야는 코웨 철도 전부 송도 주바오스 어떤 데지 알아 차는 동배 이시데스 야는 코웨 철도 전부 송도 주바오스 디 가르치기 또 지지래.
Chani tombe yeshite. Chani
고외철 돌스.
korechele dul.
전부 숨도 주고스. 대진도 차사야 되게 준이 것도 숨도와.
La.
차사야 되게 준이 것도 숨도와. 뭐 동배 차도 숨도와. 야사야 되게 에네 추진 군조비 차도 숨도와. 대니 숨도 주고달라. 에네 전부 쓰네. 단위 작도와. 된다와디 만솔에 요레스 디인자 에네 동된 가서 주는 겁나야 현재 차에 동된 gem본남 에네 우주무크스 배드 군조식의 동바티 마레스 다 여메트드스인데 가장 상탕사바 있는 가인지 여바이 마이 메바이 마이 어떤데 최고 말에 가정은 여바 말에 타니 응원에 민자다 정기 요레스 어디인데 여메 우주 깔래 가보던 난거 말에 그 강강할 테그레스 메사드 가자금 데 메브터 여사드 민자 타니 따여 정 타니 여스레 어디 접수 난거 말레스 도스 제송입니다.
And so going back to the text then, so where he says, with no conflict, clarity and emptiness can be upheld. So really all these are saying that just like you talk about the view and then also able to combine your understanding of the view of reality with, no.
여기 차는 동배이 시대성인데 규 차진 틀리기 쓰래. 규 드네멘두스에 차는 동배이 시대. 야는 코웨 철 돌. 벤치 대야 이 조사래.
야스는 빌레파 두마르라
제
동반에 남기 차지스 교원을 비치고
제
지기 괜찮은 취지도 이시체
유젠디고 차사데 유젠을고 찬 동배이 시스. 이 시대스라고 봐. 야는 코웨 철 돌스. 저는 동바트체. 두스라나 야가 있었다. 뭐야?
Gani koichil chilido.
찬 동배이 시대스인데 군조 유젠디체. 야세디 유 춘이디체. 어디니 숨도 주바들라. 아니 첨보스.
No.
담 마하 승원에 지나 마하 셰브 무다라 셰브 무다라 마하 무다라 셰브와.
네.
무세드 카르 다르세드 카르 다티레 무세야티 아니 동배이 시대 때마레스. 다르세야티 아니 코웨철 토와 때마레스. 마하세야티 딩이 숨주 때마레스. 가시에기 찬 동배이 시대 야는 코웨철도 전부 숨도 주고 오세야데 뒤 차진 틀리 로자의 유단디 유단 노르스가 등 내가 쉬듯이요.
유차진 딜레.
유차진 딜레 식디 아니 유단 노르스 뭐는 문에 동배이 시대라는 딱다르스. 아니 고주요르스. 찬 동배이 있는 거예요 말스. 문에 동배이 시대 다른 코웨철도 마하 숨도 주고 오슬랍이나 딱다르스.
No. So yeah. So basically what's going on here, is that they have their, so you see these different terminology, but anyway, what they all have the idea that when they present the view that they're not negating conventional existence. And so what he's saying here is that just like you assert the view without negating conventional phenomena, also we also have the same idea that when we're talking about the view, we're not negating the conventional existence, the the ultimate reality kind of goes hand in hand with the conventional existence. So whether you talk about clarity and emptiness, clarity, so you say clarity and emptiness are without conflict, they're non-contradictory and can be upheld. So we also say the same thing. Then the holders of the pupil lineage. Actually, the next one I think Rinpoche mentioned was the line, the third line down, about being primordially pure. So that those who assert that kind of view, primordially pure, primordial purity, and also say that on conventional level there is still good and bad. So we also say that we also accept that at the same time that everything is empty, that also conventional phenomena are still there, they still exist. So then further down, where it talks about Yomidridil. So these free of elaborations of existence and non-existence. So this is the view we were talking about the other night, where the people come to the conclusion, well, actually, it must be that nothing exists, but also there is nothing which is. So all phenomena are neither existent nor non-existent, something like that. So you don't need to hold that view, because actually, when we say existent, so when we say that things are, so we do say that things are existent, which means they exist conventionally. Doesn't mean to say they exist, ultimately. And when we say then non-existent, that what that means is not existing, non-existent ultimately. So they exist conventionally and don't exist ultimately. So I might not have got all of that, but this is the basic idea. So they all have these different terms to describe the ultimate reality, and they think that we are saying with our version of the ultimate reality involves negating even conventional existence. And so we're saying, no, we're just the same as you. We also accept the conventional existence of things. So then so somewhere, does it say about the Mahamudra somewhere here? But anyway, in the connection with the Mahamudra, it doesn't, does it? Huh? The verse before? Where? Well, anyway, I can't see the Kyabje Jhado there, but anyway. No. Yes, so it's no. No. Yes, so no. So it's after the Nyingma view is explained, then it talks about the Vidyadharas not grasping at purity. So this is talking about the Mahamudra, and there is a so there is a text called Gyuchajin Tigli, so like a bindu or drop of the so like a drop of the Mahamudra of the what do you call it, the tantras. So anyway, that text. So there it says. So we're used to using sometimes we say the Great Seal, but anyway, we often use the Sanskrit word, right? So Mahamudra, Maha is great. Then the mudra, that's actually made up of. So obviously, it's got two syllables, which would relate to the Tibetan term is chagya. So chag like hand, gya is like what do you call it? Seal. used for marking things. So so in that text it says that the chag part of that chagachembo, or in other words the mu part of the mudra, refers to the exalted wisdom realizing emptiness. So Tombeyeshi, so the exalted wisdom realizing emptiness. So that would be the subject that's doing the realizing, right? So then the dra in mudra, so that refers to the koichilido, so freedom from the phenomena of cyclic existence. So that's actually referring to the ultimate reality, which is the object of that wisdom. So you've got the subject that's the realizing, and then the emptiness, which is the object that's being realized. And by saying great, then that implies a union of those two. So this, that the understanding of Mahamudra, that Mahamudra doesn't what do you call it, like destroy conventional phenomena. Okay, so according to that understanding, the meditation on Mahamudra, that combination, that union of the emptiness and the mind realizing it, those two truths, then is not, it doesn't destroy conventional reality. And so what the author here is saying is that we also, when we assert the ultimate reality, we leave the conventional reality intact. No.
That day in Jig, Nimanire, Sumre Chignal, Gejati na, and Tawa Tenan Bebegi, and Rubja Mega in the Main court. Did that so to get a shepherd, get a chagduas? That the name, and Tijelia, and Ribetjabacheni, and Gomagum. Runguyotame, Tigajachi Yunguduas. That was on Neres.
So what we've been
Rujakabe Titanding Shuta in the manner. Rujakabe Mega Zindayu to Chemajesing a day. Nature reduas.
Junior Mega
a Gazakabe Mega.
No.
Or the Junior Dan Baby Gazakabe Mega or the Gandali and Ruguyo messing in the Nangachi reduas. Is in a tambuta that you was Chagiota than the Gajanina.
No. No, the tambuta.
Not red.
No. So mainly what we've been talking about the last 2 or 3 days actually is about, so like certain, the main points that we've been looking at are when we talk about the view, whether reality is an affirming negation or a non-affirming negation. So in other words, is it anyway, is it an affirming or non-affirming negation? Is it negation where something is implied in its place, or it's just negation, nothing implied in its place? And then we looked at the question of whether when you want to meditate on reality, whether you need to do it by way of, in other words, preceded by rational analysis. No.
Well, that Tizukote and Ganga Logi and Shung to Sama Chig Netu Sama do say Yachasane do sit share to Bayina Ganga Kojuji or listening. Jango Yawishin Sunshan Yunguduas. The Kanderesna Chachen, Zochen, and then the Saton Sunju or Tuzo Samalo, not under Shadares. ndo changbegi tawa ten bichu kame maris ti nga dan rebe thona kame chires tinde indu ane ndo changbe kap tawa ten bebe kap ane nga gi ane kap gi tawa ten bebe tizu thode jangol lam chonggo chimbe inaya lamrin kap ringa sajong kap o tuzulia seshe na yores
Ngaram chimo tang ringa
lamrin chimo o gasa lamrin jumbo nge kanor lamrin jumbo o lamrin jumbo kap liya ene nga ge kap gi ene tawa ten bebe gi ene karsore kap liya ene jogum gu thon tawa ten bebe chi nga kap liya tanda ene re o tanda sungmes nge di lamrin jumbo lo yi o di tsunga lung changi o tinde sungbares o tuzu ne tuzu changma ji simba ina ya ngawa hajang chimbo meba o titi gon sungu ye imbar titila gon sungu ye imbar sun ha kotuya ji yores
So these regarding these texts, these various texts, the Dalai Lama mentions very clearly that, you know, when we talk about the Mahamudra, the Dzogchen, then the union of appearances and emptiness. So these are not to be understood only in the context of the sutras, but also in you know, the tantras also. So so when you you can make much more sense out of them when you think of them also in relation to the you know, the Vajrayana, the tantric teachings. And this is something which actually Rinpoche points out in his mid-length Lamrim text, which I will quote from. So he talks there about, you know, the difference that there is in how you approach the view from the point of view of just the sutra practices and how it's approached in the tantric practices.
Pena lamrin dumbe na dinde sungudwa ranglu nis tawa jongdang kadul lamrin dumbe nenjo lame ge kapsu yang tawe ko kilu ume shungne jungwa tar cha golas chita nenjo lame kapgi tawa jongdang de ume shungne jungwa na shi chere mato ume shungne jungwa ma imbe tawa ji kurang nga lame tawa thoa ji yorse dinde yomar bas junglu la kirim ta zorim gi 제톱 기급 가시도 대코나니라 제네 일라 잡아 여장 기름 걸이야 아니 잡아채네 아니 따와종야지 요래라 조름 제톱 걸이야 아니 대코나니라 제베고네 일라 잡아 여장스 류라 네도 numbe 누바토베 조름베 냠샤도 대코나니 종하나 따도도 샤네 곰바 네버 고장스 다 조금 매제버 조금 쳐보고 그랬어. 류라 네도 numbe 엔 텐데기 직다 조름기 또부터 다 세면서지 텐데 이제 따도도 샤네 곰바 네버 고장 하동기 조금 슝셴의 중화다 미제도 조금 슝셴의 중화 단다
제바치니 혼동 제바치니 동반이 제바적으로 제바 맞추는 조금 치료
어디래 슝셴의 중화들 제바직체 양 따돌 냠바지샤 따돌 냠바샤는 양 제바직체 된대로 봐 지난 람림도다천 두서로 봐 갈사 제직 3년 잠로 코와이 자와죄베 누바마 통신 신내 람단데베 셰럽기 지점제자 영웅 미도베 이루 푸다죄베 셰럽디 요메 신내 달레 견내네 타제 우메 리베 촌내기 탄지 밑에 탄지 다 전조니 숭리체지 and alengel tawe chabache tawe chabache ne and nyaba jing yasun or telia zechu de nebe and shineche yanti miwa message chusna ya lamsan tawe chabache or tu sin chenjo sungje or chegugresne tanda lamri nyanguna tanda sungudwa ta tanden dila ene 항동기 제금 슝셴의 중어들 미제도스 어디 젠조 송데 미제바 조금 바시 체고요스 이내양디 단다 두센셰바 갑들 대달 제베 초베 규젠남 디르사와 덤베 갑수 마바베 dir lam shen namla tetar chebe gyusenam shedos dinde shede tanda lamren dumbu kal nge kaps phagwe medo docho ne shebe kawinza dir lam shen nga lame dinde shebe kal shege yesne otusene lamren dumbu na lamren cheme na ma sebe chi suse chene nga lame gi ene tawa jungsu chi sungo duas tiyan nyanga chi duas.
In the middle length Lamrim, when explaining the view, it mentions that as far as we're concerned, in other words, according to our own view, our own system, even when you're talking about the Heist Yoga Tantra, the understanding of the view, in other words, like the view of reality itself, the object emptiness itself, is not something higher than you find in the sutra teachings. So then, however, there is a difference in the approach between sutra and tantra. So in the sutra teachings, it's very clear that the way you practice the view is you alternate analytic and concentration meditation, kind of like the calm abiding meditation. In other words, what you do is you analyze, and through your analysis, you get some kind of conclusion, some kind of experience, and then you go with the single-pointed concentration on that. And then when the experience starts to fade, then you go back to reasoning again to get the experience. And so you alternate analysis and single-pointed concentration in that way. And so the difference in the Tantra is not like completely across the board. The Tantra they're different from that. Rather, so in other words, actually you have that kind of alternating between analysis and one-pointed focusing, even the generation stage of Heist Yoga Tantra, and even at when you're at the completion stage level in your practice, outside of the meditation, then you have an analysis. So when it's talking, where the difference is found is when you're in, when you're at a high, you've reached a high level of realization in the completion stage, like for example the isolation of mind, then it would be just one-pointed meditation, one-pointed concentration, without alternating between analysis and placement or one-pointed meditation. And so Jhado mentions that having made that point, he okay, so now I have to. So that he makes that point in the middle length Lamrim, and he says that he's not going to go into any kind of deep explanation about how about what the difference is and so on, because this is like the sutra teaching, and he says that later on when he's actually talking about the teaching and writing about the Tantra, then he'll give a more clear explanation, he says. So yeah, it's particularly in the what you call it, the Lamrim Song of Experience, the very short Lamrim text by Lama Tsongkhapa. So there he particularly, there's one particular verse where it's clear that what he's teaching, what he's advising is that you alternate, the way you practice the view is you alternate analysis with one-pointed concentration. No.
Tatande lam shen chebe kabli ya sungu yin said kaba sung yor chebe na and jermu chegi sound dube rimgen deba rima sadren na sungu ya yimbare rima sadren na kande sungu du sena tongba shiba wosel sharnes ta tongba shiba wose nawe ishi chebe ishi nyedo ishi and tongba shiba tamje tongba woserwa tongba shiba wosel sharne 대동 저베 두수 소솔도베 셰럽기 야야 쩨바 늘 미체기 냠샤레 랑베 제도기 값수 엔 쩨바 대달체 값수 대달체바오 메주베 하동 냠샤도 경화나 소솔도베 셰럽기 야야 쩨네 경화 퍼진 특반에 숭바다 닝이 민라오스 퍼진 특베 에니 초절 기값 다 매주 세르바 초절 기값 하도 냠샤도 경나 소소도베 셰럽기 야야 제니 경어다 아니 나 라멘기 동바시베 세기 샤르네 셈다 페제 세멘강 예체네 안루기레 대동 저베 두수 아니 셰럽기 야야 미주바 니 미제베 니 다그 마르다스 되게 람린 좀 못들 카세르 땅송
그래도 소소기 갑라 아니 디 리모체니티 디지고레 디 갑라 아니 so as I said in Jeremy says in his middle-length Lamrim that middle-length stage of the path that he's going to explain elsewhere more clearly where the difference is. And so actually it's in his commentary to the Gui Samaja Tantra called the Rimnga Sedran, so like lamp clarifying the 5 stages. And in that, he says that when the 4th empty, in other words, the clear light, so there's the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th empty, because you got the appearance increase near attainment and then clear light, so clear light is the 4th, so that's the 4th empty. When that dawns, or maybe we can say when that arises, then you should not analyze. He says you shouldn't analyze. You should just meditate one-pointedly. And he says, so this is different from the way you would practice according to the sutra path, according to the the perfections. Anyway, so according to the perfections, where it's explained that on the path of accumulation and the path of preparation, then you alternate and analyzing and one-pointedness. No. So that also is an important point, isn't it? So anyway, I'm not sure what that would be. But anyway, there's another text which His Holiness the Dalai Lama often also quotes from. So this is another text by Jeremji Lama Tsongkhapa, and it's called the Rimnga Detsok. So Rimnga would be the 5 stages. Yeah, so Denzok, that would be so completing the 5 stages on one seat. No, that's what the text is called. Denzok.
기름기 되네가 동이기 따와라 푸다 처벌 공부 인강스 다 잡아치는 공부지 봐 참디네스 다 르웬 카도들에 참디네 리시 동이 뭐 공부 르라 네도 눈탑기 티글소 공부 니스 다 르웬 카도 조른 르웬기 카도 어떤데 진네 엔 리시 동바니 gomba zonde ma chabche rishi tongni mo gomba lula net nuntap ta dewa zonde che ta de tong se tongbe chaji da dewe chaji yorwa ta dewa chimbe ishi ki tol lula net nuntap gi tigli so gomba nis zalung tigli so gona za da lung yorwa tikbalana mebe luki tongni gomlu tumu mayin pa nis tikbalana mebe 동이 걸로 투모 많이 받대 내가 좀 이식 동이 더 버치고 그래 봤어 다티 인도 동이 더 버치고 핑거 말에 유전되다 세브 소거를 내가 좀 유전 전에 유동반이 나를 푸다 쳐버 공바이나 대야 심 증거도 되게 미도바 장배 대세 미도베 대와니 다 텐데베 대와티 가르스나 아니 신의 갑기 미도바기 대와 대야 말했어 유득 디네 치 디바당 에네 티바 체종다 규대 공하고 투문 버렸어 다야 룰은 내도 number 중에 감시에 대와 대전티에 말했어 데니 기름을 열었어 다 룬템베 대전티 멤버스 다 조른길 행제기 대전라 룬 두디르템베 대전 거베스 니 타모솔라 미네 다 르기 네투 마number 동바점 곰베 조림베 대체 명예베 차문소게 내줄 곰베 투 대체 탄네 대동저데 곰바 임반디 닌데베 깝군도 셰블 키시스 다 간다 대체 승엔디 미도베 대와세 텐지 말에 아니 감슈 대와 대점시에 말에 다 가르르스나 아니 동바시와 탐제 동바 외세 차에 대가지고 그래 어디야 룰을 내도 넘발 중에 대화 텐데지래 다 리시 동네 뭔가 대화 좀 잡대는 거 뭐지 도와스 디까기 대화 티기 지다 대화 말아왔어 대화들 랑문에 맞으면 따와 템베톤 대화 좀 공부하러 텐데지야 도와스 텐데지야 나가로 숨고 도와스 나라면까 텐데 대전 동네 얘기를 봐 대전 코랑게 동인게가 딱 그런 동인 예배 강사 새로 뭐 차상 진짜 동반이게 따와도 간 코랑 차상 두 놀람네 셰베 되게 차상 요요 봐 다 들이야 유전 개발제 내가 준비 시티
No. So in that text, Rinpoche says that although on the generation stage, you do need to meditate on emptiness, from this point onwards, anyways, from this point onwards, which means when from the isolation of the body onwards, for the time being or for a while, don't meditate on emptiness. What you need to do principally what you need to do now is to apply the methods for achieving great bliss, because in this context, it's not just a question of meditating on emptiness. You need a very special mind that's meditating on emptiness. And this is the mind of great bliss. And how that great bliss comes about is by penetrating the vital points of the body, working with the channels, winds, and drops in order to achieve the clear light. So he makes the point that when we talk about the blissful mind that you need in order to, as the blissful mind that you need to meditate on emptiness with, because emptiness is not alone, you have to have it combined with the bliss. So he says it's not the blissful experience you get in calm abiding simply through like non-conceptualizing, or I think sometimes they say like non-discursiveness. It's not that. it's also not simply the bliss that arises through the through the the elements melting. It's also not that, because that can also happen at the generation stage, but this is a completion stage practice. So actually, he says the bliss that you need for meditating on emptiness in the completion stage is one which comes through the airs entering, absorbing, and then finally abiding in the central channel. And so then through that process, then eventually you end up with the arising or the dawning of the fourth emptiness, which is the clear light, and that comes about through penetrating the vital points of the body. So he's saying, for the time being, so this is somebody who already has the realization of emptiness completely, right, from the as understood on the sutra side. So now, for the time being, he's saying, don't meditate on emptiness. Do everything that you can to bring up that clear light mind, and then you'll be able to have the combination of that blissful mind, which is referred to as the innate or simultaneous great bliss, and use that to meditate on emptiness.
Oh, that dozo chik chevina. Sedon sungju kalya dongshi chojen sem. Ane karayungo. Kada lundugi nime kalya dongshi chojen sem giting. Tene chaja chimbo kalya zo sem giting. And sem giting ne that motive nyamba shaksu chikta tande di sem giting ne sem tongo maimba. Tatung yang mone chena di tat dida daw shidare. Sanga nyingma ina. Tibar mbagu sungorwa. Tibar mbagu chene tigye loye tumdas. Raba lubu wag samle shichobares. Zoba chambu tibar mbaguba zoba chambu di yishi lamje re riba lamdo chebachire. Ti menche ki lo tiki di tsamalo raba lubu wala chebachire. O ti indu ane tigye loye tumda. ane karsa zoba chimbuti yishi lamje, riba lamje, o duus chene sungu duwas. Duzu ganga kanda semliya shiche ne nyamne cheyak chigi kame chi tagi nge shubana shi nga lame ki lugu shada ki nyamne chi rede duwas. Da tande denya rishi tonye mengomba dewa chimbuta dudusin sem chamu chigi kanda nyamne chegwa chigi kanda sungu duwas. Duzu ganga tumbe chajiye duwas.
공소야 아니들 좀 창우지
샘탐을 차전 카도 당보시대 샘탐을 까면 말해 샘탐을 말다 가는 남의 삼노 때마다 자마 삼노 때마다 단다선도 가 누구도 되시네 또 슬라버다 이내야 샘 배도 전 샘들이 들으시는 거 건배도 탁탁탁 찍도 누구야 있어 에네 가르사 가서 기도 노산자 저기 nenjo tharin jaba thinan chene ane kundo thingrim le teme go ane wese kharingo wese chadap cheya o tinde chi sungudwa o tit sangani met o tire
de rimshi zung adi de simsa ha ma song chen chen de ning ma be zo jian dang de dong
kazan tangbo de 니망가 두 지능에 가르쳐버렸으나 제르무책 따와 메가레 아니 가르사 최chen 군조가 나와디 엔 개침부 쪽으로레스 송바레 디 사자기야 송구도 니마기야 송구도 어 가주기야 송구도 다투투스체네 콩로데 도스치케네 딜리우직 잡레 네네 다 되네 니마 가시지 나라 단데디 당고 아망문진 코랑기 나네 뜻이 심주 체윤도 다 사제긴 도단된데 니모 도단된데 가지고 도단된데 아니 배드 카가 임바도지 독스 다 콘주냠도 잣 디타 메바도지 배지 된데지 중송았어 다 단다 아니 제르무 체기 아니 람진 둥비고 롱드체 아니 르마 사정 롱드체 rinma denzo lung tuzol tena and jogum zo cheachige kapji yete tene rishi tongni gomba shane simgol zenden chen goma che yete ba yan tumbe chaje duas tinde 인도 장고 여신도 갈순 거스 슝창마 로기 코프트 버지 고아레 직감 뭐도 관계 아니 어디다 되게 퉁금민도 쓸라베 핑기 말스 창마 로기 대체베 있는 지지 배질 간도 첨부 요 말스 내가 지금 보고 요도 요르스 어도 쓴 거래
So yeah, so there you have what we'll because you know, initially anyway, it's like several days ago what we were looking at was how these different traditions are actually basically the same in you know, when you look at the really authentic, you know, Nyingma teachings and Sakya Kagyu teachings, you discover that they actually do all agree that when we're meditating on the view, then that view emptiness is a non-affirming negation, and that it's the emphasis needs to be placed on the appearances. So we see that, you know, we saw that actually the Nyingma Sakya Kagyu do also actually agree with that idea. And now for the last 2 or 3 days, we've been looking at what, you know, the author says about these various traditions. And when you look at it in one way, they all seem so different. They all seem to have completely different ideas. But actually now, by looking at this quote from the Middle-length Lamrim, and also the quote from Rinpoche's the lamp illuminating the 5 stages, and then also this other one, you know, the what was it? The yeah, there's the having the 5 stages complete on one sitting, on one seat. So you see that actually. Also, according to our tradition, the Giluk tradition, then there are times when emphasis is put completely upon the one-pointed concentration without the analysis, and So what was the other one? And that and that there, you know, there is a time when you're in your practice when you're advised, don't meditate on emptiness, just meditate on the mind. You're trying to develop that blissful mind, so you leave emptiness and just meditate on the mind, which is and when you look at if you think about what, you know, we were saying about how these traditions, you know, His Holiness points out that you can't understand them just from the point of view of the sutras. You have to see how they are, you know, they are what do you call it, teachings that are actually related to the Vajrayana, the tantric teachings. So then you see that they actually become very similar. So what His Holiness points out is that you know, when you just look at a few words, then you don't really get the point, and you might feel there's all sorts of contradictions. But when you really go into the detailed explanations in these the text by the great masters, then you come to see that really they're basically the same. There's really not much difference between them.
Tene janjarobe dojigi sumbunale yedebegi sikji pejir ngare samachabina jamu joishinu tangu amangunzi kachi tinkashera na yore tinde chi kawla lumde number samgudu yamena chagchen kachi kawla lumde number samgudu ti lumde chi ngejing dengi ti jangarum je lumde number ti ene near Dababche, that Chevrolet Gordon, Nyayorwa, the Dababche, Yell and Chanja Robidoji, Pecho Cup to do Combushada, Chanja Robidoji Sumo, Chazan Combore, a gel Chirabacal Chitsen, Nia, yes. Did you taj of Jumachu? Yeah, gel at Nigamito. Cut searching, yes, this soon the dead do search. Ti Luju the Sumba Kablia, Chanja Robidoji Tande, the Tango among Winzing roots and Sumbarba.
No.
Or roots and Alia in Kongtawa Gomje, Tindeshu Kadu Delia, and Nilam sort of Moneg sort of Chile, Mikabuchi Shisi Chunja. And Tigi and Ma that Nage Maji Sungi Badoji, or the Dinde Chungsen, and that Kandachi Chanja Robidoji Sumbuna Yore. Rigbe Kabe, Neshig, Zindan, Gaja Kabe. Megala Shuba Yinjans. That Rigbe Senata Gunsenko Berba, Rigbe Kabe, Neshig, that Karin Everesna Zinda, Neshig Zinda, Karisana, Gaja Kabe, Mega, that Ten Chuchenti, Gaja, Ramon Tuba Mega, or Tile Shuba Yinjans, Rishi Kabe, Rigbe Kabe, Neshig Zinda. Kajakabe Megala Shuba Yingyans Le Tangboe Serigi Nangcha Go Minubes. That Le Tangboagi Serigi Nangcha de Katu Go Minubes. Tedar Nyambar Jogus that Neshig Zina Gajakabe Megala Shuba Yinaya Serigi Nangcha go to Umare go to Menaya Tedar Nyambar Jogus. Sur Dilla Samnes Nawasem. Siming Tomba, Nando Yermedus, and the Sedon Sunju Surgido, Nawasem, Siming Tomba, Nando Yermedu, Ta Jetans, Sedon Zimenga, Nyambar Joba, Yin Sumba, Nyamyon Dietumbe, Luimbe, Shundanga Yemes. The Sedon Sunju to Nyambar Jok Sayati, and Nyamyon Dietumbe Lugres, the Nyamyon Chengi, Nyamyon Tone, Nyonto Ratchebe. Daitombe, Luchires, Sedon Zime, Nyambar Joba, Yin Sumba, Nyamyon Dai Tombe, Lu Yimbes, Shundang Gajon Yemes. Shung Tatsanju Shundan to the Savashera to what the Tozat and Guy Gang Maris, this Sungi, did it Chanja to Konasungumendo, Shuti.
Kanda de later on late Tampawagi and it
Yang Yojin Dena.
no.
Ribe Kabe, Neshig, Zindan, Gaja Kabe, Megala Shuba, Yinkan, Le Tambove, Sirig, Nanjam, Wo Minupe, Tedar, Nyambar, Jo Gutsu, Dilla, Samne, Nawasem, Semyin Tomba, Nando Yermedu, Ta Jesne, the Mikabutina, Shisi Nani, the Suma Imadas.
Então, je sais des coups.
O Sedon Sunju,
No.
Tita, Gawa Maimaruchi, Lolo Maimaruchi. That the Lungden of Tita, Titondala, Chanjarum Korangi, Sedon Zimenga, Nyamber Joba Yin Sumba, Nyamyo Daitumbe, Luimbe, Shundanga Yeme, Seti, Chanjarum Korangi, the chamber doesn't. Or the Nigia, Lungitanas.
Isn't Jangarovidoji Krangi and the
Kansachi do, the Kansachi do, the round bet take you the men I should do.
No.
Kandar Neshik Zindan the Gajakabe Megares, in a let Tambo says a reason announced the Katugumaris. What the Indu and said on Savata Tomboni Sunduche. Nyams Lingures, the Sungudu.
No. Yeah, so there's there is a passage from the collected works of Jangya Rinpoche Dorji, which His Holiness I've heard quoting. I'm not sure whether it was when he was teaching this text, the the recognizing my mother, or whether it was while he was teaching Mahamudra. So it took a long while to track down this. Before I came across this passage, and then I didn't think to make a mark, like highlight it. So then I couldn't find it again. But anyway. So I've been able to find this, and so he talks of yeah. So no. Yeah, so this was at the Ryozeng, so the 5-peak mountain. That's where Jangarabi Doji was when he composed the song of this song of the view, the recognizing the mother. So anyway, there while he was there, he it was like a kind of like a dream or kind of like real. He saw this like very light-skinned looking person who explained about the view, the view of reality to him. And what he said was that even though with reasoning you negate the object to be negated, the existence from its own side and so on. So even though you rely upon reasoning to negate that, and even though through that reasoning process you've reached certainty on the the non-existence of that, which is a non-affirming negation, for a beginner, he said to Jangarabi Doji, this person said, for a beginner, there's no way that you can stop the appearance of clarity and awareness. But still you have to persist in meditating on that non-affirming negation, even though what's also appearing when you're meditating is that clarity and awareness. And this is described as a union of clarity and appearances and emptiness. Appearances and emptiness, right? Because you've got the meditation is on emptiness and nothing else. It's a non-affirming negation, but also what's appearing is the clarity and awareness. And so the Jangarabi Doji explained that so this was the way you could see that there was no contradiction between clarity and awareness. Seton Zimi, so like unapprehending clarity and awareness. No. No. So maybe I'll stop teaching there, and we can maybe have some questions. There's not a lot of time left, but maybe we can do something.
There was a question in the chat today.
In Lama Tsongkhapa's biography by Tudin Jimba, in the section Queries about the Guide to the Nature of Mind, Rinpoche says this, asks, is this practice of looking at the mind's nature the same as the one that involves applying discrimination wisdom as taught by Nagarjuna, or is it a different approach that involves simply leaving the mind as it is and resting in it? If it is the latter, Tsongkhapa contends such an approach would not even lead to the realization of emptiness. I think that the E is probably, big E is probably emptiness, let alone the realization, thank you, of Dharmakaya. He then observes that the awareness of the mind's absence in the moment immediately after its arising is in fact more an awareness of its impermanence than of its emptiness. So now here's the question. Could Rinpoche explain the last sentence? So where does the last sentence start? He then observes that the awareness of the mind's absence in the moment immediately after its arising is in fact more an awareness of its impermanence and of its emptiness. He then observes that the awareness of the mind's absence in the moment immediately after its arising Pena sem keji tambo sem keji chigi de keji nibadi kaplane keji tambo di nyo marawas. The dinde chik tongna ane di peji de mitapa topic keji res the toni topic keji mares jerum shiki song sigi do. No. Jezan di danda kares. Keji jiba dobara chese mitabara. No.
Kazan naranzol jinsu sumi yoris shuri was.
No lane.
She kanda kaina deo nyama zimba chikche. Ane ngachi jinzing lo chikche. Ngatu jungo chitu ne yoba zimba lo chikche. Kazangi kansa tiring tagara.
Ngachi tangzinti.
Ane chutu jungo ne tuba zimba chikche. Tindeci ngaranzol jinsu sumi yedeba chik. Ta tetan teo nyamdo zimbati tatare tanye tu yore chinju tanye chame shing nyogu mare tanye chame nyogu mare tati yebatre ta ngachi chingjin de zimbati tangzire te mitabo gombe togi ngogo re di goba tsamgi sumbat ngo thu mare tumo ma be dulu ngone yebata zimbati ngo thu mare re ta tetabutu ngobala and dame tobe toni tembe tenlia and ribe cheba chebe tebe ribe gone ta nge gore o tindu and shiti mitaban geji jiba ngazu nge mitabare ti toni nge marse tatarvas.
No. I think this is quite straightforward in a way because before I mentioned that there are these three ways of grasping an object or, apprehending an object, holding an object, if you like. So one is where you just think it's that. So this can be applied to anything which is this, right? So, you're just thinking it's that. Then there's a second one which holds the present object as being the same as the previous object. So that's basically grasping at the permanence, the permanence of something which is actually impermanent. And then the third one is grasping it or holding it to exist, self-substantiatingly and independently. So of those three, there's nothing wrong with the first one. It's simply it reflects a conventional fact, that the thing exists. Then the second one is grasping at the permanence of the object, and so the way to overcome that is by meditating on the impermanence of the object. And so then through meditating on the impermanence of it, you would realize you would stop that grasping at the permanence, but it wouldn't affect the grasping at the object as existing from its own side. In order to be able to stop the mind grasping at the object as existing from its own side, you have to use reasoning to establish selflessness. So it's very clear from that realize, what it says there about the awareness of the mind's absence in the moment immediately after its arising is in fact an awareness of impermanence. It's pretty clear that is not an awareness, it's not a realization of emptiness.
가장 창조 섬들 롱장바인 바스. 미다 동에 동아시 자와 숨비 섬종체 chon sen jong che ba chen ra shi me ba ins o human member che ga ton da la mi da ba nge ro ko ya en do ma nge ro ko ya en tension da ga tong yin na re rang ge du je ga da ga tong yin na re o tu zo nge ya ko ya ane tu zu human cha be je la ane trowa che ya ga ton da la en che ran shi me ba nge ge ma do che ran shi me ba ma nge ba tro tu ma res cho semne jong che chingi ra shi me ba ins o
Color mind absence of the impermanent level.
Kala.
Below the mind absence as impermanent, and the mind absence as emptiness.
Or the journey eh.
No, the absent level.
Absence in a meba. What is the experiential difference in meditation when meditating on the mind's absence as impermanence and mind's absence as emptiness? Anyway, so we'll come back to that in a moment. So what Rinpoche was just saying is that this is similar to also the quote from the Bodhicitta commentary that I was quoting from one of the previous evenings, by Nagarjuna, where he says that meditating on impermanence, suffering, and selflessness in the sense of, or on the level of, meditating on the non-existence of a self which is permanent, single, and independent, or self-supporting and substantially existent. So that those are for purifying the mind, and they are for bringing the immature mind to maturity. And then the supreme method for bringing the mind which has been brought to maturity to liberation is the teaching on the ultimate nature of reality. No, so then, what is the experiential difference in meditation when meditating on the mind's absence as impermanence and mind's absence as
chashi teta te mares sama gombati tawa gomba dotu mares sungudunga
chashi
pena ngengodi ngare mendo kangba ngare mendo laba ngare mendus o dus gomba tetsam ane dame be ten gomba dotu mares jermje handona sungudunga ta pe tinashi ane kazang semde tande semde mares samati midab gomba remato chigi ti tawa gomba do marwa
Yeah, so again, in relation to that first question, so the meaning of probably it's impermanence and not emptiness that you're meditating on. So in his special insight writings, then Rinpoche makes the point that just analyzing, thinking, I'm not my head, I'm not my arms, I'm not my legs, and so on, the various parts of the body, I'm not this, I'm not that. No. So, no. So that would actually be meditating on there being, the self, the I not being any of those would be an emptiness which destroys conventionalities. Because what you're doing is you're just by recognizing I'm not this, I'm not that, you don't find the conventionally existing I. So you just conclude, there's no I at all. So Rinpoche says that that's in the special insight teachings, that's not meditating on the view of selflessness. And so here it's pretty clear that that meditation, that's the one, where it says, anyway, is that it's more like a meditation on impermanence than it is a meditation on emptiness. Just recognizing that the mind of the present moment isn't the mind of the previous moment, that wouldn't be meditating on selflessness. It would be meditating on impermanence. No. No. So I'm not quite sure whether my answer really met your question, however. Di mi tarana de dando mi kaza dio nido. No. No. So yeah, that PGD dendo isere semgi tengi anit kasta semgi tengi mitaba dang semgi tengi anit doni anit kompanila ani nyamnyongi nyamnyong samutana nyamnyongi toni samutana ani de nyam de mindaw khariyores jiran jena de chi kasata kane ani de bet kakares la yoras the yini pena de
dingat pesi dodo chutu sare
no
semgi tingi mitaba kaze gomba inaya sem rangon tuba zimbatel kunne martas
no
zindangonga shuyo marwas
no
di inza sem rangon zimbat di ne chinje tela koal tutu martas ne je semda de balas di indu ta koal to gobachi iman sem tingi ane mitaba gomba te gomju amarte lag marate ti gomba samji michoba ti in rangon matuba ten be gogru ti majena semgi ting dangzi chingwa tutu maresta ko nyamyo jan teres.
Well, really, in terms of the experience, the difference between these two, I'm not 100% sure that's actually when you say experiential difference, people say experiential difference and experiential meditations and so on. So anyway, the main thing is that that there is a big difference in the experience of meditating on the impermanence of the mind and meditating on the emptiness of the mind, which seems to be what you're talking about. That when you say meditating on the mind's absence as impermanence and mind's absence as emptiness, it's difficult to understand that as meaning anything other than the meditating on the impermanence of the mind versus meditating on the emptiness of the mind. So the thing is that no matter how much you meditate on the impermanence of the mind, that's not going to affect the ignorance grasping at the true existence, in other words, the root of psychic existence. The only way that you're going to be able to really affect that. It's not like that you shouldn't meditate on the impermanence of the mind, but really to uproot the ignorance, then you would need to meditate on, use reasoning to refute to understand the emptiness of the mind. Then the chugu dan the toni le de kebakario sido.
Tangatil lagume. Tande di shuji
no.
Tande land.
No.
Bande chura sungudu was. Chamso mongdan game chir shindu nyeba charje mis sundu was. Mus de chamba sunyor de sogunala midaba gomba tuzo sunyor das. Midu gomba da tuzo gang karsan zindangonga de midu was.
And also in relation to that question, Chandrakirti, there's one verse by Chandrakirti where so not Chandrakirti at all, Dhammakirti in his the Pramanavartika. So there he says that he says
몽당 가메치 신드냐바 charjemis 신드냐바 당진데 charjetu고 말스
no. So he says that loving kindness and so on, because they don't apprehend the object in a way which is complete opposite to ignorance, they can't really inflict any kind of damage to the ignorance, to the self grasping. No, so just an opposite way of grasping. No. No. So the thing is, he said loving kindness, etc. Right? So your question actually comes under the etc. because it's etc. includes meditation on impermanence. No. So we'll stop there. No. Saji Bagi Joji Mendora Rirabni Jini De Gembate Sange Jindu Mitevua Shogunam Dashingla Java Jo Etang Guru Radna Mendala Kamni Daya Me Janjo Sanjo Rinpoche Make Panan Kiku Keba Yamba Mebaye Kone Kon Bavara Jo Kanre Rawe Korwe Shingam De Penda Dewa Malu Juwen Chene Ziwa Denzi Yaso Ye Shabe Site Bad Tengiro Ji Tuzu Chanchin Jangun Gawe Ten Zingyom Bewe Kunzu Tobozi Chozungu Elemen Tudruba Tazo Duji Gundu Japten Sho Sangye Temba Tawa Dan Tenzin Yu Shabe Ten Trogun Dege Jongwa Dan Neka Tatu Dendu Sho Jamba Bao Jita Kemba Dan Kundu Zampo Te Tera Gungi Jesu Da Logic Yawa Dida Tamje Raptu Ngo Atu Sun Shebega Tamje Gi Ngo Akanla Chotu Ngapa Tagi Gewe Sawa Digun Yang Zambo Chuk Ngo Gi Chugi Gabo Zonga Be Jesu Namba Pawa La Gegi Zema Shewa Dan Tungema Sanwa Sho Tadan Shingi Tuzun Dan Dewe So Nila Tene Kyawa Lozan Trap Temba Yuring Ba Yuru Ji Me Me Sewe Tejen Chene